This is a tale of four lads, Martin, Rhys, Tom and Dan. They all came from this small Cardiganshire village of Aberbank. Martin, or Martin Kemys Arundel Lloyd, to give him his full name, lived here at Bronwydd Mansion. Born into the lap of luxury and influence, when he turned 21, royalty attended his birthday party. He was, after all, 19th in line to the throne. He joined the Grenadier Guards. Rhys Bynon Davies was an adventurer. He'd already left his home to be a student in London when the war broke out. He became a soldier, an officer, and a flyer. But did he really die at the hands of the enemy? Tom James was a gentle soul and a gifted musician. He won a special prize for passing all his music exams at the first attempt, an organist at his local chapel. Those nimble fingers must have been just what the Marconi Marine Communications Company were looking for, ideal for tapping urgent messages on the Morse key. Dan was the eldest of a large farm family. At just over 5'6", a little short for the newly formed Welsh Guards, but he was accepted. His brothers Tom and John also joined the fight against the Kaiser. Dan fought with the Welsh Guards right through the war. Martin fought and died for the second time at this very spot. Even General Kitchener sent his sympathies on the telegram. This is his final resting place at Delville Wood Cemetery. Rhys was shot down twice whilst an observer with the Royal Flying Corps. But was the second time really the enemy, or was it blue and blue? Rhys is buried here in a small village churchyard in France, much like the one in Aberbank. Tom has no grave but the Mediterranean Sea. He died doing his duty so that others might be saved. He's commemorated here at the Merchant Navy Memorial on Tower Hill. Tom was only 19 years old. All we know about Dan is that he almost survived the war, but was killed in action on the 2nd of November 1918. As his parents were getting ready to join the celebrations of the war's end on the 11th of November, the postman arrived with the dreaded telegram.
The going down of the sun, and in the morning we will remember them. We will remember them.
Envis Davis is Dan's great niece.
The tradition within the family, the story within the family is that Dan and his platoon on this particular day at the end of the war were given the orders to go, we'll say, to the left, whereas they should have been given the orders to go to the right. They walked straight into explosives, and that they were all killed because of this mistake. But obviously, now looking into the history of what has happened, that can't be right, because we know that only Dan was killed on this particular day. The whole platoon weren't killed, or lots of people within the platoon weren't killed, or else that would have been noted somewhere. I've got a few photos and a poem that was written after he died, things that I've inherited, but I don't really know much about his last days. We would like to know what happened to him in the last hours of his life and how he was killed. Although we didn't know him, he's still my great uncle and my daughter's great great uncle, and I'd like them to find out exactly what happened to him. So it would mean a great deal to me.
Dan's battalion and the Guards' trench mortar battery, to which he was attached, were either marching towards the front accompanied by brass bands, or at rest behind the lines playing football. Neither made contact with the enemy on the 2nd of November. Dan was initially buried quite a few kilometres in front of his battalion's position. If battlefield burials took place close to where the casualty fell, then why was Dan so far ahead of his comrades? Along with the other 19 village lads that never returned from the Great War, they are now names forever carved in the granite of Aberbanks War Memorial.